All right, welcome everybody. We will allow a quick minute for Zoom to work its magic and let y'all in the room. Glad everybody's with us. Why don't we do this? Drop a quick comment. Let us know where you are tuning in from today. I always enjoy hearing where folks are tuning in from. So please drop a quick comment. Let me know where you are chiming in from. Adelina out of Orlando. Mike, you're in Charlotte. Awesome. Cornelius, love it, Chris. Very cool. All right. We are gonna get rolling in about another minute. I am really, really excited for this webinar. Occupy DC, Tim. I like it. Um, do Let's do this because we are getting to the end of summer. We're kind of in back to school mode. So I would love to just hear from you uh, a, a favorite memory, something. Give me the highlight of your summer. Maybe where you went on vacation. Maybe just getting some time to unplug. Um, Maybe you were working hard all summer. But let's hear a highlight of your summer while we wait for everyone to get in here. Family trip to South Carolina, Megan. Love it. My personal highlight was an extended family reunion kind of at the beach. We rented a big house and jammed about 20 of us in there, and it was awesome. Chris, any particular family highlights or work highlights or anything for you this summer?
Yeah, I've got, I guess, what I would describe as some lowlights, unfortunately. So I'm just going to choose one and let you guys all feel sorry for me. My wife and I had planned a vacation of a lifetime, 2 weeks in Hawaii. And literally the night before I was to board the plane, I was in the ER with bad kidney stones, and they stuck with me for about 4 or 5 days. Long story short, we canceled our trip and haven't rebooked it. So this has been a
Mm,
summer of like putting things into perspective, looking for silver linings and things like that for me.
yeah. Hey, that's life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you're
And
still
now
here. You
I'm
got a
I'm
smile on your
hydrating
face.
myself obsessively to try to avoid future kidney stones
Yeah.
and future
Oh,
canceled vacations.
I learned that lesson too. I had a friend on my football team who had a kidney stone, said it was the worst pain in his life. And I would
Oh.
right then and there, I'm like, never want to get a kidney stone. What do I do? So yeah, that's why I hydrate. All right, cool. So got a good group in here. Thank you guys for being here. Really excited about this and really excited to have Chris, who's a friend, a client of Spotlight Marketing and Branding. Just a really since I've known you, Chris, you've been a very forward thinking, all about kind of automating systems and how can you make your law firm run more efficiently. So I know you've got some good nuggets to share, and I know the audience is looking forward to that. Before we jump into that, I am going to spend just a couple of minutes because one of the really interesting things about this AI phenomenon, right, is that there are just lots and lots of applications. Okay, there is everything you can do, and that Chris is going to talk about to make your law firm run more efficiently, workflows, automations, things like that. But what we are also seeing is just an incredible sort of acceleration of ChatGPT turning into a marketing channel for law firms. So I am going to talk about that for just a couple of minutes before we dive in. As you know, if you've been to one of my webinars before, we try to keep them conversational. If you've got questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. We will try to address them as we go, and we'll make some time for questions at the end. But if you're here, if you can hear me loud and clear, if this all sounds good, please hit one, drop a one in the chat. Let's make sure that this thing's working, that everybody can hear us, and we will get going. Awesome. Thanks for chiming in, guys. So, ChatGPT, I really believe, represents a generational marketing opportunity for law firms. I am not a bright, shiny object guy. Okay. I, as a general rule, actually push back against business owners and law firm owners chasing bright, shiny objects because I think a lot of times they are distractions, right? We let tools become more important than the strategy that drives the tools. So I'm not a bright shiny objects guy, but I will tell you, I really believe the Chat GPT era is the biggest development in digital marketing since Google came around, right? Probably since the invention of the internet. It is fundamentally changing the way that consumers look for lawyers. And I've got two very in my view, significant stats that sort of back this up, as well as there's kind of a lot of anecdotal evidence for this. I imagine many of you can just resonate with this in your personal life. The first is that ChatGPT has now crossed the 1 billion search query threshold, daily search threshold, right? Um, for context, it took Google 10 years to get there. It took ChatGPT about 2 years. Okay. Most people look at Google as a case study in explosive exponential growth, right? Well, ChatGPT is growing 5 times as fast as Google. Okay. Very significant. Conservatively, this is a conservative estimate. At least 10% of traditional organic search traffic has shifted from Google in favor of AI platforms like ChatGPT. I would love it if those of you who are listening drop a one in the comments if you guys use ChatGPT, not necessarily 100% instead of Google, but if you at least a couple times a week are using ChatGPT for things that you would have asked Google a year or two ago. I'm expecting a lot of you are probably going to say yes to this. We have I have had, many face-to-face conversations, and really in the last few months, like, these trends are accelerating. I think this 10% mark is low. Kenton, aren't most of those prompts that you were referring to not for search but for doing work? That is a great question. I'm not going to dive fully into that on this webinar because this isn't the sole focus. But yes, probably the vast majority of queries are related to getting work done, answering questions. But I can tell you, we are seeing it in the data. Clients are using ChatGPT to find law firms. Our clients are getting traffic every single day from ChatGPT. We have clients that are getting clients that are reporting that they came to them through ChatGPT. We ourselves are seeing inquiries coming into our agency that are sourced from ChatGPT. So 100% folks are using ChatGPT to find service providers. They're asking for recommendations. It's happening, and it's going to accelerate. It is only accelerating. So again, the main focus of today is how to use AI to make your law firm run more efficient on the back end, right? But just because of the timeliness and the importance of the marketing opportunity, I am going to share with you guys the cliff notes of an action plan of basically how to begin marketing so that your law firm can be one of the law firms that is recommended by ChatGPT in your area. I will tell you, this is going to be truncated, right? I don't have an hour to spend on this, but what you can do is take a screenshot of this slide, and this will give you, I did a webinar, about a 90-minute webinar on this a couple of weeks ago, and this is the slide that you want to take action on. So without further ado, here's what you need to think about. The first thing is all of your online profiles. So your Google My Business listing, if you are on Avvo or Yelp or any legal directories, if you are on social media, your social platforms need to have consistent contact information. If you can't even name your law firm differently, right? It needs to be, the name of your law firm needs to be presented consistently, your phone number, your address, spacing, abbreviations, all of that. You want it to be consistent across every single platform. Okay, that's number one. The most important items there are name, address, phone number, NAP. You want to make sure your NAP is consistent across all social profiles. Second is you want to be active on social media, and you want to be linking back to your website. One of the many, many trust signals that ChatGPT and other AI platforms look at while making recommendations is activity and links back to your website. Social media platforms are a great place to build links back to your website. Three, and this is a big one, okay? You want to be consistently publishing blogs. I recommend at least once a month. If you can do more, awesome. But here's the thing. You want these blogs to be answering the top questions that your potential clients are asking. If you need help figuring that out, talk to your clients. Think about your intake conversations. What are the questions that first time clients are asking you over and over again? Each one of those will make for a great blog topic. Okay. Over 6 months, if you can answer the top questions that your clients are asking, that is going to make a big impact on your visibility through ChatGPT. Two tips about this. Format your blog with a title that's formatted as a question. In other words, don't say 5 tips to get divorced in North Carolina. Say, what are 5 steps to get divorced in North Carolina? For whatever reason, probably because this is how users format their queries, if you can put questions into your headline, it's going to give you a better chance of being cited. The other thing is lead with a short executive summary, right? Just a couple sentences that sort of summarizes your answer and then leads into the entire blog entry. Again, for whatever reason, this is going to get you a better chance of getting picked up. Video content is really important. Again, I recommend at least once per month, shoot a video. It can be just with your phone, right? Where you answer one of those questions. Make that master list of the top questions your PNCs are asking. Film a video, answer it, post it on YouTube, post it on your website. Okay. Huge trust signal for ChatGPT is positive reviews. One of the top trust signals. So, what that means, it is more important than ever that you are building a list of positive reviews on Google, on Facebook, and on other platforms. Google is probably the most important for this. So, what that means is you need to have some sort of system in place to make sure when you have a happy client, you ask them to leave a review. Kenton says maybe a phrase like, yes. So as you're phrasing your titles, write them in such a way that, a user of ChatGPT is likely to use, right? What's the first step to getting divorced in North Carolina? All right. Next item. You want web page content that speaks to your ideal clients and includes any specific reasons they should hire you. This is one area where ChatGPT is way different than Google because ChatGPT will make recommendations based on what it already knows about the user. For example, ChatGPT, if they know that I prefer, high-end luxury travel, they are going to, generally speaking, cater recommendations towards like that lifestyle. Okay. So, for example, if you are a law firm that is built on efficiency and low prices, you should include that in your messaging. If you are a white glove experience, VIP level experience, you specialize in high net worth family law clients, then you got to be sure that is really included in your messaging. You are giving ChatGPT reasons to recommend you. Okay. This one's a little controversial for a lot of lawyers. I've gotten pushback on this, but I'm just telling you this is how people use ChatGPT. You need to have some level of pricing information on your website because people are asking ChatGPT, how much is this going to cost? I'm not saying you have to, list your hourly rate. I'm not saying you have to commit to a flat fee, but what you do want to do is have some level of pricing information. It can be a range. It can say, to accomplish this goal, it's typically going to cost between this and this. And, here are some of the mitigating factors that might make it more expensive. Here are some of the factors that may make it less expensive. This is what ChatGPT is picking up on. Okay. Really important. If you've won awards, you know, uh, Inc. 500, Inc. 5000, Super Lawyer, any of those types of awards, you want to include those on your website. Then a couple technical items here. You want to have an SSL certificate, right? This is something that your web designer should do for you. Basically, it's just indicating that your website is up to security and encryption standards. You want to have your data structured using a system called schema, right? This makes it easy for ChatGPT to understand what is happening on your website. Your site speed is important. You want to aim for a page load time of probably 2 seconds or less. It's going to improve your chances. And you do need to have a privacy policy on your website. So here's what I recommend. If this is something that's important to you, go ahead and screenshot this slide. This is a little bit of a cheat code to get you started. We will do deeper dives on this in the future. We also, by the way, for anybody who would like to have a one-on-one conversation about this, we do. Our team is able to execute the vast majority of this for you. Mike, if you would not mind dropping a link in the chat, perfect. That link will allow you to schedule a one-on-one conversation with our team. We'd be glad to kind of talk you through our approach to marketing for ChatGPT as well as just marketing in general. Our goal is to help attract more clients, better clients to your law firm, and ChatGPT is kind of a big piece of that puzzle. So, listen, hopefully that was helpful. I am really excited to bring my good friend Chris Clark on in just a second here. And Chris, before I turn it over to you, just because I know that there are people on this webinar that are maybe considering working with us. We've had the opportunity to work with you for a long time. Would you mind just sharing just real quick, just your thoughts on your experience working with Spotlight and the team over here? Chris, you are muted. There we go.
What I get for being courteous, I guess. No. Yeah, no, I would love to talk about that because it's relevant. I left my last law firm where I was a partner in 2016 and started my own firm. And the big reason that I did that was, I liked my partners, I liked our associates, I liked our staff. It was a very positive experience, but I really felt that we were losing ground to other firms and other lawyers that were taking technology seriously and trying to figure out how to, frankly, gain an advantage over other law firms through the use of technology. So for us at the time in 2016, what that meant was we needed a better website. It meant we needed to be thinking about newsletter, law firm newsletter. In our case, it took the shape of an email newsletter. Um, I had already been doing some writing for blogs, but I really wanted to officially launch a law firm blog and, really establish our presence on social media in a way that we hadn't before. So those were all the things that I was experiencing, and it led me to reach out. And I didn't know Danny, and I didn't know Spotlight branding, but I reached out to about 10 different firms to see who would be most suited to help us with it. And Spotlight was far and away the best choice for price reasons, for their mentality and their mindset. They're just good people and easy to work with. They've got impeccable customer service. I've never, excuse me, I've never felt like I wasn't important or wasn't treated well. So, 2016 up until 2025 and continuing, very happy with services from Spotlight.
Love it. Thanks, Chris. All right, I'm going to turn over to you in just a quick second here, Chris. Adam, I do
Sure.
want to respond to your question. What makes this chat GPT specific? Yeah, there is a lot of similarity in marketing towards AI platforms like ChatGPT and search engines, but there's also some really, really key differences. We will be doing a webinar in a couple weeks where we're going to really deep dive into this. I don't want to spend too much time on this right now, but for example, um, ChatGPT will make personalized recommendations in a way that Google is not going to. Okay, and so let's say that just as an example, you're looking for a criminal defense attorney, and it's personally important to you that that attorney is a former prosecutor. Okay, that type of information is absolutely going to make it into a ChatGPT response and is not going to make it into a Google response. Things like the way we're formatting questions, um, the the strategy around executive summaries. There are some elements of this that really aren't all that relevant to Google and are relevant to ChatGPT. So great question. The good news is, a lot of what you're doing for search engine marketing will be helpful for AI agents like ChatGPT and Grok and Perplexity, but not all of it, right? And there's definitely some crossover, but it's not all the same. So with that said, Chris, I am going to turn it over to you here. Like I kind of said at the beginning, there are multiple use cases of AI, right? And we talked for a minute about sort of the marketing opportunity that it creates. But one of the big areas that probably a lot of you are interested in, and something that I know Chris to be personally very skilled in, is building workflows to make the operation and the delivery of your service more efficient, more consistent. And Chris, honestly, since I've known you for, however long it's been, 8 or 9 years at this point, you've been at the forefront of automating and building systems and process to make your workflows more consistent. So I couldn't think of anybody else better to bring on to talk about this. And with that said, Chris, thanks for being here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Great. Is the correct screen being shared with everyone?
Sure is.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. Just respond to a couple of things that you said before I jump in. And also some questions that we've been getting. We've had a couple of questions asking about prompting. And I think the one thing that I've learned about large language models, ChatGPT and similar platforms like that is your results and the success with which you're able to solve the problems you're trying to solve or accomplish the tasks you're trying to accomplish is all in the prompting. And I think that's one thing that's made ChatGPT so fascinating is it's so accessible to everyone. You can type into it just the same way you would type a Google search. On the other hand, there are some really smart ahead of the curve people out there that are focusing on prompt writing. And what can we do in these prompts to avoid the chances that ChatGPT or another AI platform messes up versus how can we us asking it to give us very specifically certain data or certain answers that we want. So those of you that are already thinking about prompting, I think that is where the future is headed. I think there will be absolute the same way that some of us may know like little kind of coding or automation tips and tricks, but we couldn't sit down and actually code or write a software program. I think ChatGPT is going to continue to evolve in ways that it's very user friendly, but I think it's also so powerful that there will be subsets of people that just focus on prompt writing. And I'm super interested and excited about that.
Love
Okay.
it.
Yeah, thanks everybody. So I thought what I would do is just quickly, and I do mean quickly, I'm gonna jump through some slides. The purpose of these slides is to really just get us all on the same page. It's sharing my mindset and my observations and what I perceive to be the use of AI in law firms, the way that I use it and the way that I've seen others use it. And then on to the more fun stuff. I want to, we just don't have enough time today to really roll up our sleeves and dig in and sort of start writing custom automatizations or AI prompts for you guys. But I'm going to get as close to that as I can. And I want to make sure that you are all aware that I would gladly share my slides with you. I would gladly share workflows and things that I've done and things that I've set up with you. And even myself and then another individual, he doesn't work in our law firm, but he is an AI professional. He and I are going to be going to law firms and offering services to law firms where we can help you figure out the best way to optimize AI in your practice. So if any of that is interesting to you, Chris at CLARK.LAW, it's the email address that's on the screen. just reach out. And if you want to have a chat about possibly working together, that's fine. There's no charge for that. If you just want copies of the slides or have questions about a workflow or something like that, hit me up. Happy to help. Okay, moving ahead. Here we go. So this just reinforces some things that Danny was saying about AI very quickly moving from being an experimental um, platform to now very much in the mainstream. We've got firms using it for document review, legal research, document drafting, and correspondence drafting, things like that. And you saw from the information Danny presented, daily, weekly or even daily usage is now pretty standard among lawyers. So to me, the big takeaway from this first thing is how quickly an industry that has traditionally been notorious for being slow to adopt new technology has really gotten on board with AI.
Yeah, that's a really great point, Chris. I echo that.
Yeah. Um, and so, in my view, I still encounter lawyers that are very tech averse. They're very suspicious of AI. They read the stories about these lawyers that didn't proofread their AI generated court documents and they got in trouble with the judge or opposing counsel because they were citing cases that didn't exist and things like that. Um, it's my view that yes, you could certainly commit malpractice using AI. But I think there's an equally strong argument to be made that if your firm is not already at least taking initial steps to figure out how to integrate AI into your practice, that could be malpractice. And it sounds, maybe a little overstated, but in many states, such as the state where I am, North Carolina, lawyers have a duty of competence and we're required to take a certain number of CLE hours in order to maintain technological competence. And so if you're intentionally ignoring not just popular, but effective tools that could make your practice better and make your work product better and make your clients' lives better, I think that's an issue. You don't want to be the firm that is falling behind in terms of efficiency and cost and slower response times and things like that because the firm down the street has really figured out how to use AI its in their practice. Okay. Um, so the other thing I hear about a lot is, oh, good luck because 5 years from now, AI is going to take all the lawyers' jobs. Um, I think there is a rich and provable history of technology having an impact in certain professions. And, frankly, in some cases, eliminating those professions. But I think most of us would look back on those things as positive. Those were things that they made our lives easier and more efficient, and therefore we didn't need the people, or at least didn't need as many people. And so now those people can, go and invent new things for us to do, or find things that maybe they were better suited to do, or maybe interested in doing. So I'm not going to pretend that the legal industry isn't going to change by AI, and that some people, especially if there are people within your organization that are doing repetitive tasks manually, I would be worried about that. We want AI to be used as a tool. That's where we want
Yeah.
people to be thinking about this. So
I'll just, if I can just jump
please.
in for a second, I'll just echo that from the marketing perspective, right? There are plenty of marketers that freak out when AI comes along and all of a sudden can, produce images, edit videos, write content. And like it is true, like there are places in this industry where that is resulting in people losing, losing their job or being replaced. But it also just elevates people who are thinking strategically. It gives them more tools at their disposal. So like, yeah, I believe the same exact thing is going to play out in legal.
Yeah, I don't I don't hire Spotlight because it has the latest greatest marketing slash AI technical tools at its disposal. I'm sure it has lots of technological tools that it uses and does a great job. But really, what I'm interested in is Danny's brain, Danny's expertise, and Mark and Eddie and Jenna and Mike and everybody. It AI is changing nothing about an organization being built on great people, and I don't think it will.
Agreed.
So and for us as a smaller firm, I spent my first 5 years of my career at a big firm, 350 lawyers or so. Um, and I have found much better fit for me, um, first in a smaller firm and then owning my own firm. And it's always I feel like I've always been struggling a little bit trying to really target those sophisticated clients that would typically end up probably at one of the big firms in town. I have really made an effort to draw a distinction between, look, hey, there are professionals out there that know how to use these tools to generate work product that's every bit as high quality as you would get at a big firm and probably for a fraction of the cost. And I think that there are, and I suspect Danny would agree, there are dangers in marketing yourself as the cheapest or as the price conscious option. But I do think there are ways that you can market your use of AI and your use of technology tools in a way that sort of communicates that to potential clients. If
Yeah.
they see that what they're getting from you is better efficiency, better work product, and don't have to pay as much, they'll get it. They'll understand like that's a better situation than the big firms that are still, and no offense to anybody who was at a big firm, I enjoyed my time at a big firm, but there are demands made on those folks, especially the associates that I think are not necessarily conducive to generating the best legal work product.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome point, Chris. And Michael, your question about AI and bias in answers, we'll totally get to that. I think that's a great point. I'm gonna let Chris kind of get rolling into, some of the workflows and things that he has to share. And I imagine that will kind of come up. And Chris, we can kind of speak to that if there's any points where it makes sense. But thanks for asking the question. And as we're going, guys, please do drop questions in the comments. We will answer them either as we go or we will stick around for Q&A at the end. We will make sure we get to your questions. So please do drop them in the chat.
Yeah, and I'll just pick right up and respond to what Michael said because Michael Blakely had said AI has known to be biased. Please address that. It's not only bias, it's known to be incorrect. I would say one of the most frustrating experience I had, this happened to be ChatGPT, and I'm going to talk about some legal specific AI platforms in a moment, but I was asking ChatGPT to do something fairly complicated and sophisticated, but I knew it could do it, and it had done it for others plenty of times. And it kept telling me, okay, no problem. I have everything I need. I will get this to you this afternoon. And then I'd go back the next day and it hadn't, and it would say, oh, geez, I'm so sorry. It will be, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Long story short, this process just went on and on for about 8 weeks, where I would forget about it for a week or two, and then I would go, "Hey, I think ChatGPT never gave me that thing." And so I'd go back in there, and it was like I was having an argument with a person. You know, I'm really disappointed in you. You promised, these kind of conversations that we would have with a person. But this was a learning experience for me because, and again, like I said, for me, prompt writing is really like the epicenter of the AI universe right now. I went in and I asked it again to do what I had asked for. And at the end of my prompt, I put, please do it right now. It solved the problem. It kicked out what I needed, what I'd been waiting for weeks. It just kicked it right out. So, question about bias, question about sort of proofreading, question about quirks. Yeah, this is not the user experience that I expect we will be having even 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. We're still very, very early. But I'm a firm believer if you can get your prompts right, that's a big place where you can find improvement in your business.
Love it.
Okay, so I'm going to touch on just couple of simple types of automation, and then I'm going to give us two examples that I use and that you guys can use in your business. One, you could probably have it set it up by the end of the afternoon, and that's the example I'm going to give you about text replacement. So, what is text replacement? It's very simple. Sorry, let me get back. It's very simple, and you probably experience it if you use a smartphone. A lot of times you'll start typing a word and your smartphone will try to guess what it is so that you don't have to type the full word. This is kind of like a more robust version of that on steroids. And this particular automation I want to talk about doesn't it's not technically AI focused specifically. It's more just like an automation tool. But it has become so ingrained in our firm for a multitude of reasons. So let me quickly just walk you through this. So text expansion is very simple. It is you're typing just a few letters and onto your screen a longer word, a series of words, a sentence, a paragraph, an entire document. Any of those could then pop on screen. And this is ideal for people if it's you or if it's your team who are doing repetitive things where they have to type the same thing over and over again. Simple things like my email signature, my cell phone number, my email address, my home address, our office address. These are all things for which I have made just little keystrokes that rather than having to type those things out that I frequently type all the time, I can just hit a couple of keys and it'll populate. And yeah, I mean, you're maybe saving 1 or 2 seconds in that instance. But if this is something you type multiple times a day, every day, it adds up, obviously. And then two more things I want to say on text replacement. One is a really important use of this that I think not many people have really caught up to now, but I use it this way all the time. There are things within our firm where I want it always to be written a certain way. Whether we're writing a letter to a client, whether we're drafting a contract, whether we're writing a letter to opposing counsel, there are just certain things that I would like to say a certain way. Same with contract drafting provisions. And so I have built those text snippets to save me time in those instances, but I have also used it to ensure consistency throughout the firm. And I have heard this as a fairly significant problem in larger size law firms, which is you may go and ask that firm for something, let's say an LLC operating agreement, and you may go back a year later and ask the same firm, and the price may be completely different. The way the agreement is written may be completely different. The things that they think that lawyer thinks are important may be different from their colleague down the hall who wrote the last one. And so I think it sends a confusing message to clients. And so in our firm, if someone asks for a particular task to be done, and it's something that we've got a process in place to do, the documents will always be customized, unique, specifically tailored for the client's unique situation. But when we have what we call boilerplate, I don't love the word, but we have provisions that typically go into these types of agreements. One that comes to mind right away is many of us, I'm sure, now use electronic signatures. I've got a little blurb of text that says, hey, not only might this agreement be signed in counterparts, but it also might be signed digitally. And if it's a platform that meets these criteria, then that digital signature is just as good as an ink signature. I think that's pretty much what the law says now, but it's just it's basically 2.5 lines of text, and all I got to do is just hit a few keys and it pops in.
Yeah,
So
Chris, that's awesome. I think most people think of, the efficiency and the time savings in tools like text replacement, but the idea of ensuring that like, hey, when there are certain things that are important that they're communicating in a specific way, everyone in the firm now has access to do that. Very valuable. I love that. I love that perspective.
cool. All right. So moving on, this is a little bit more sophisticated. I'm going to talk about this in a little more detail on a slide that's coming up here in a second. But Danny and I were talking and preparing for this, and we were thinking, gosh, really be nice if I could kind of demonstrate how one of the workflows that we use works. So again, automation here. This is a situation that helps our trademark practice. Um, Many of you may know that bar associations and state bars across the country will tell you that the most common complaint they get from clients about lawyers is my lawyer doesn't communicate with me. He doesn't keep me posted, keep me up to date on my case. He won't call me back. He won't email me back. I can't get a hold of him. Like it's very common. So we have in our business put some automated workflows in place to help us stay out of that type of trouble with the bar and to keep our clients in the loop. And so here's what we do. The trademark application process is extremely lengthy. Right now, we're looking at about 18 months from the time that application is filed until it eventually issues. It can take longer, and it especially can take longer if there is an issue with the application that needs to be corrected, or maybe the examiner believes that your application shouldn't be approved and you've got to make legal arguments to them. So, you know, not unusual for it to be a 1.5 to 2 year process initially. Then you have to renew between the fifth and sixth year of registration, and you have to renew again between ninth and 10th year. So this is a long, this can be a very long client relationship. So what we do is we have emails that we receive from the United States Trademark Office. We take that and use it as a trigger to generate an update letter to our clients. So I'm going to show you a little bit more detail about that. And then most of you by now, if you think about automation at all in business, are probably aware of Zapier. It's a really robust platform. There are some other platforms out there. I haven't tried them because I got in on Zapier early and I'm happy with it. And so I don't really need to go try to find something else. But in case any of you are not aware, or even if you are aware, I urge you to kind of dig deeper into this. Zapier is just a platform that connects one application to another. And as you can see on my slide here, it's got it's got over 7,000 apps now. And there's some examples of how, a law firm might decide to use it. And like I said, I'm going to give you a very specific example here in just a second. So, as you're thinking about AI for your business, some of the most common ones, document review, contract analysis, um, legal research, invoice review. I would say even I think historically it is very unusual for lawyers to type an entire commercial contract of whatever type from scratch. What do we usually do? We think, all right, I've worked on something like this before. What was that? Okay, yeah, I think let me go see if I've got a document where I can kind of use as a starting point. And clients want that. They don't want to pay for your time to write something from scratch when you may already have done a similar project and you could sort of borrow some of that or tweak it or massage it into what you need. So, in my opinion, another way that I didn't put a bullet on here, but just sort of like initial, like drafting the skeleton outline of a contract, I think it's really useful because I know what I want to go in there. But if I can have a machine help get the stuff there, and then I can really do the human lawyer work of reviewing it and analyzing and improving it, that's how I found it to work the best. Okay.
Love it.
So, a couple of points here. Legal specific AI tools. I'll tell you, to be honest, the one that I have the most experience with is called Spellbook. It's a great it's a great tool and it's useful. If any of you are using legal specific AI tools that didn't make the list here, I'd love to see them in the chat and let me and let everyone else know,
Yeah,
what are some other
I would be
options out
interested
there.
in that too. And Chris, I've definitely heard Spellbook talked about quite a bit. So curious if there's anybody here who does use Spellbook or any of the other tools on this list, or as Chris said, some tools that did not make the list.
Heck yeah, love to know about it. And then just kind of moving from this phase into the sort of more like workshop type phase. Um, Danny and I both talked about the rapid adoption of AI. Um, I think, Danny compared it to the, sort of taking use cases away from Google. I thought it was notable that the adoption of AI at law firms happened much faster than it did for them to start being comfortable storing things in the cloud. And it's just remarkable to me. Improving access to justice, we hear that a lot when it comes to legal tech. I'm not sure I'm sure there are some success stories, but I think we've still got a long way to go in that. And we'll drive new fee models and client expectations. Look, the rules of professional conduct require you to charge a fair fee, a fair and reasonable fee to your clients. And if something that used to take you all day, it now only takes you a few minutes, you may have to really be thoughtful about how am I going to charge for this. You can use value billing, and there are ethical ways that you can charge other than just for your time, but you just need to look at those rules and make sure you're covered there. So it's here. Um, I urge you to start simple, which I'm going to try to help you with now for just a minute, and then sort of build up more towards these integrated workflows. Keep the lawyer at the center is I just put that there to remind everyone, and I would imagine most of us are on the same page as far as this goes. It is far less likely that we, as experienced lawyers, will be replaced. I think it's more likely that we will be doing our jobs differently because we'll have new tools at our disposal. And hopefully that means doing them better. Okay, if everybody will just bear with me, I will sort of crank through this quickly here, and then we will get to some more questions.
And
So
guys, Chris did as he's doing that, he did offer to share the slide deck here. I looked at this ahead of time. There is a ton of really great value here, so I encourage you to reach out to him or reach out to us, and we'll make sure you get it. Thanks, Chris, for being so generous with your expertise here.
yeah. Chris at CLARK.LAW, shoot me an email. We'll get you the slides and any other help that you might need. Um, so, what I did was I didn't want to make this all about you having to go out and buy or subscribe to a bunch of apps. So, the first thing that I started with text replacement, Windows does not have native text replacement built in, but Microsoft Office does. And, the data still show that most lawyers use Microsoft Office. So if you are one of those lawyers that use Microsoft Office, sorry, this would be for you. Screenshot it or get me to send it to you. This is literally just a step-by-step way that you could build your first automated text replacement without having to go buy anything. Now on Mac OS, there is built-in text replacement functionality in Mac OS. And so I would just recommend if you use a Mac like I do, go through and check out these detailed steps, and that should walk you through the process of creating your first text replacement automation without
Chris,
having to spend any money.
I know you mentioned this while you were kind of laying out this text replacement concept, but what are like one or two of like your personal favorite like text replacement items that you use all the time?
So I'm gonna repeat something I said before, but I'm glad you asked the question because I wanted to talk about this other thing too. Um, uh, Name, address, email signature, office address, email address, home address, mobile number, you know, um, just things like that, to uh, commonly used contract provisions, or for those of you that do litigation, I suspect a lot of your complaints or your answers or your discovery requests have similar content one from the next. And so, if you know that in In an injury case, there's a standard set of things that you ask for, but requires a little bit of tweaking each time. That would be a perfect example. But the thing I wanted to say earlier and I forgot, and that's why I'm glad you asked the question. One of my favorite text replacement automations that I have is, let me back up for a second. One really important thing when you're choosing how you're going to set this up is whatever little snippet you type, you want to make sure it doesn't sort of overlap with any normal words. So, for example, you wouldn't want the snippet for your office address to be address or ADD or something like that, because then you're just going to be typing a document and you're going to type the word address and suddenly it's going to expand it when you don't want it to. So for me personally, I use two commas and then two or three letters because it was hard for me to find anything in any language where it was common for you to put two commas back together. So that's the way that I build my snippets without having to worry that I might just be typing a document one day and accidentally trigger one of my snippets. So think of something like that. Feel free to use that, comma, comma, and then whatever the letters are. So um, I have this here for the Mac OS. Choose carefully. I put my two comma comma OMW if you just wanted to make it say on my way. You put comma comma OMW, populates to on my way. There are commercial applications. I use one called Text Expander that are really robust and can just, I mean, we don't have time if we stayed here till 5 o'clock to tell you all the different ways that Text Expander has really taken text replacement automation to the next level. But
If I can
I,
just jump in with one quick thing, as you're
please,
sitting there typing, one of the ways like I've used this, I haven't necessarily sat down and spent hours just creating everything. It's more like every time I find myself doing something repetitive and typing something that I know I've typed before, it's like, oh, quick, let's make a text responder for that.
100%, 100%. I still review all the invoices for our firm before they get sent to clients. I think it's just really important to do that. I had a mentor tell me in my second year of practice, your invoices are one of the most important ways of communicating with your client, and could potentially be one of the most dangerous ways. So for certain types of time entry, we've built a ton of text expander snippets so that we always know the exact wording that we want is going to appear on that invoice. And we're not going to have to worry about confusion because we've kind of chosen that for that particular thing. Okay, let's quickly move on to this letter draft triggered by email. So, as I mentioned, one thing that happens when you submit a trademark application to the United States Trademark Office, you provide a contact email address, and the Trademark Office keeps you posted from time to time if something happens. And it's really frustrating because the first 5, 6, 7, 8 months, nothing happens. And these are where you get these clients going, hey, what's going on? So anytime something happens at the trademark office that triggers them to send us an email, we take that email and we put it through an automated workflow that extracts important information out of that, takes that extracted information and puts it into a draft letter, and then emails that letter to our paralegal to proofread it and send it to the client. So, some things about this. In our case, our email platform is built on Gmail. It's still our CLARK.LAW domain, but the engine behind it is Gmail. So Gmail has pretty robust filters. You can go on there and figure out, what filter you want to use, and I'll tell you more about that in a second. And then you need to parse that information that's in that email somehow. And so I use a app called Mail Parser. Zapier, which we mentioned earlier, also has a native mail parsing app in it. And then that data that is parsed is used to populate this letter. And then the paralegal gets a copy of the letter. It also puts a task on her online task manager. So how does this actually look in my firm? Okay. So I actually just chose whichever one would happen to be at the top when I looked at it. Um, so the email filter that I set up, it's very easy to do in Google and probably is on most other platforms too. if we get an email into this particular email inbox that it's monitoring, and that message is from TM official notices at uspto.gov, and the subject contains the words official USPTO notice of acceptance slash acknowledgement, section 8 and 15. This is that renewal I mentioned earlier between years 5 and 6.
Mm.
So if this automation sees an email that meets these criteria, it forwards it to Mail Parser, my mail parsing app. And that's just sort of like a nonsense string of letters that Mail Parser gave us. They set up a new inbox anytime you set up a new parsing routine. Sorry, I keep hitting that. So for this particular one, I have instructed Mail Parser to extract the applicant name, the serial number, and the name of the trademark. So pretty basic stuff. Um, then Mail Parser sends that extracted information to Google Docs so that it can populate a letter that we've prepared to inform the client, hey, we just want to let you know the trademark office accepted your renewal. That's the section 8 and 15. And then, a task, we use the Clio task manager for our team. A task gets put on the Clio task manager for the paralegal, and the paralegal gets a copy of the letter emailed so that the paralegal can proofread it, make changes if necessary. Sometimes, if the automation doesn't work perfectly, it's rare that there would be any type of incorrect data or information, but it does sometimes the formatting or something can get screwed up. So it's important to have a human being involved, but we're taking 5 to 10 minutes of that paralegal's time rather than an hour. So that's how that works. So um, like I said, tell me if you want the slides. I'll send them to you. If you want to start like kind of trying to do this on your own and you get stuck, shoot me an email. Let me know what's holding you up. I'll be glad to pitch in and help you out. So I probably went over, I imagine. Yeah.
You're
I went
good.
over a little bit, but I left 1 minute for questions.
Yeah, and anybody who wants to hang out for a couple extra minutes is more than welcome to. Chris, the expertise is always is much appreciated. You have any thoughts, Chris, for the folks that are like not necessarily sure where to begin when it comes to, automations, AI? Is there like, maybe a first baby step you can recommend? And Marina, I see your question. We'll get to it in just a second. But Chris, any baby steps, first steps you'd recommend?
Yeah. The first place that my mind goes is all the various resources and tools that are out there that we just didn't have time to cover today. We've just touched the tip of the iceberg. Um, if so, if you're not sure where to start and computers or technology scare you and it just, confuses you and you start to get cold sweats whenever you start getting into this, I would say like your path is probably to just stay up to speed on this and try to understand and learn as much as you can, and probably find someone on your team or within your organization that you could partner with that would sort of help hold your hand into, some of the early stages. But if you're a technical person and you're not afraid to start, mess around with some of this stuff, I would absolutely um, try some of that text replacement automation. I think it's a great place to start because if you're a person that has rarely ever created something on the computer that then helped you solve a problem over and over, um, that is an experience. That's a mindset. It'll get you excited. Um,
Bingo.
and so I would say start somewhere small where you can get those little victories. Text expansion is a great one. If you don't mind spending a little money, I don't get any kickback or anything. I think Text Expander is one of the best apps I have on my machine. So
Love it.
yeah.
That's
So
awesome. So,
yeah.
Chris, Marina asks through the Q&A portal, how does this work with plaintiff personal injury practice? Demands, answers to discovery. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, great question. I think the way that you could use it in that context is really limited only by your imagination. As someone who doesn't practice litigation, I can imagine that I don't practice litigation, but I do write demand letters often on behalf of clients. And I have a colleague here at the firm that works with me. She also writes demand letters, and I remember seeing she had a paragraph or two, like a closing paragraph that she would use in almost all of her demand letters. And it wasn't always just identical, but it was it was the same idea. So I copied that out of the end of one of her letters, and I made that a text expander snippet. And again, I don't want this to turn into a commercial for text expander, but one thing it lets you do is you can set up a text expander snippet that asks you questions. And so you could have a text expander snippet for for I'll just say discovery, like interrogatories, for example. If you are doing a ton of car accident cases, my hunch is the interrogatories from case to case are somewhat similar. So you may save that as a text expander snippet, and you can get text expander to do things like you run the snippet, a little message comes up on your screen. What's the name of the plaintiff? What's the name of the defendant? What's plaintiff's counsel? What's defendant's counsel? So it can actually do some of that replacement as part of your text expanding. So,
Love
um,
it.
yeah, I think there's tons of ways you could use it. Let me say one other thing real quick. There is a podcast that was on for years. Sadly, it ended earlier this year, but it was on for years called Automators. It's just Automators. That's the name of the podcast. Um, David Sparks is one of the hosts, and he's a lawyer. And it's basically a show about how to get the most out of automation, not specifically in law, just in business or in life in general. But the fact that one of the two hosts is a lawyer, you get a decent amount of legal content and you can see kind of how he thinks about that. So I would urge you to do that. And open Google and open ChatGPT and just say, hey, I want to learn how to automate stuff in my business. And you'll have more resources and information than you can stand.
Love it. Love it. Alyssa asks, and Chris, I don't know if you have specific input on this or not, but asks for those that use Spellbook and Law Insider, is the motion order drafting worth the price? Do you have any perspective on that?
Okay. I think that I use Law Insider too. So you asked about two platforms that I'm pretty familiar with. Um, what worries me about both of them is I think they may find themselves overpriced. I think there are going to be competitors that come into this space, and the more supply you have, it drives price down, right? That's what they tell us. So, um, I know that Spellbook has a tier that you can pay for. It's not a tier that I pay for, but it's kind of like, hey, pay us more money a month and you'll have like a digital associate. This is like, it's smart marketing. I love the way that it sounds. Um, for me, the I do pay for Spellbook. I pay for like kind of whatever the basic tier is, and it is enough for me. So I guess my answer is, if you want my opinion, probably no, but it's just a hunch. It's not because I've tried it and I've decided it's not worth the money. So that would be how I would answer that.
Got it. Awesome. All right, guys, if we have any last questions for Chris, feel free to drop them in the chat. Chris, really do appreciate your time and your expertise as always. Guys, from a marketing perspective, like I shared at the beginning, I really do believe that ChatGPT is a just a massive opportunity for leads and traffic and clients to your website. We will talk more about this in upcoming webinars. We'll go a little bit deeper than we did today. If anybody does want to have a one-on-one meeting and just kind of talk through what does it look like to get, to create a content strategy and a marketing strategy that gets your firm recommended, I just dropped a link in the chat. Again, we'd be happy to have that call with you. Chris, thanks again. You got any final thoughts or anything you want to share as we wrap up here?
I love this stuff, as you can tell. Danny hit the nail on the head. This is just where the passion is for me in the legal industry right now is around legal tech and AI. Um, I would love for, everybody that can hear my voice right now to just pay me to help you with your AI, and I'll just turn the duties here at the firm over to my team. And we'll come and play with automations and AI all day. And I'm being somewhat serious. I do intend to explore that. I'm not doing that now. I don't have customers or clients that I'm doing that now. But I do have a partner, and he and I are serious about trying to make something out of this. So if anybody can hear my voice and you think, hey, our firm might be the perfect guinea pig for you, reach out and we'll see where it goes.
Love it. Thanks, Chris. Marina, I did get your message. We'll take that information down, and our team will touch base with you. Yeah, Chris, this was awesome. I feel like we could have done this for hours. We did just scratch the surface. We'll have you back on here again. But with that said, thanks everybody for being here. Hope this was helpful. Hope you walked away with a few ideas you can implement. And stay tuned, and we'll do this again soon.
For sure. And I've been happy with Spotlight for 9 years and continue to be. So I can't say enough about the human beings at Spotlight that continue to deliver great services with the tools that they have available. All
Chris, thanks so much.
right. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day, guys. Bye.